So you mentioned James Altshuler. There's a significant discussion in the book about vulnerability. And there's an Altshuler quote, which you seem to agree with. It says, "I don't do a post unless I wonder what people think of me." In addition, one time you mentioned people are really going to think I'm weird for sharing this, right? We were just kind of touching on that. What's the value of going out on a limb? Is it about gaining conviction or exhibiting vulnerability that actually has value to the process and gaining self-confidence and self-trust? Why is it that you feel that, as you thought this through, I need to be vulnerable and I need to go out on a limb here?
I never thought of the word vulnerable, honestly. I try to stay away from words like vulnerable, integrity, and so forth. It's so overused, right? It's like if I see one more hashtag like that, I'm going to vomit. What I was trying to be, and I'm really grateful that Hemingway was the one I studied, because it was like, you have to tell it's true, clear writing. And all I had to do here was tell the truth in the clearest, simplest manner possible, and so that's what I did. And the thing about putting yourself out there, I was terrified. I almost didn't publish this book. Very, very close. If it wasn't for the commitment, it was also, I made a commitment to James I would if he liked it, and he liked it, right? So another commitment I had to keep. But I was at that point, I was like starting to believe in the power of commitment. Like commitment kind of was working out, like you don't know what's going to happen. You got to do it. And on the other side is magic. And so I don't think it's a matter of just making yourself look like fools or vulnerable for the sake of it. You got to have something you believe in. Right. And if you're afraid what people are going to think of you because of what you believe in, that's when you do it. Not for the sake of, let me go be vulnerable. It's got to be something you will really stand up for. And this, I would have stood up for in front of anyone and swore up and down that this is the secret. This is it.
You found the secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that story about you being at a conference and
and I was like,
follow someone, and you're like, I just figured it out, and they all laughed, and then you told them the story that you just told me, and they were like,
literally, I was in front of like all these like Washington like senators and congresspeople and CEOs and like old fuddy-duddies, and here I am talking about I figured out the secret of life, and here it is. When I said I figured out the secret of life, it was like the audience laughed.
Yeah,
and I said, and here it is, and I had 2 minutes to tell it. By the end of 2 minutes, quiet. And then when I got off, there was like a line of people wanting to talk to me, which I did not expect. I thought, time to slink away, like go back to the hotel room, pretend this never happened. And it was the opposite.
It was the opposite. So we just talked about vulnerability being kind of a less than good word.
I think it's overused in context.
Yeah.
It's like
I find authenticity another one of those words.
All those words, any ease, anything, integrity, whatever.
It's not going to stop me from asking a question about authenticity. The expression "share your truth."
Yeah,
it gets used a number of times in this book. I want to explore just a little bit, despite authenticity being a less than valuable word at the moment. Does the expression "share your truth" have to do with authenticity in your mind, or
if you're sharing what your truth is, that is being authentic,
right? It
could be anything. Look, whatever you sincerely is the thing that's changed you. What's your true thing? What's your thing?
Yeah,
that is that is the fundamental of being authentic. You don't have to use that word.
Okay, then this is the real hard question, and
go for it.
You don't have to have.
You have great questions.
How does the individual? How does some other founder out there, anybody, how does that individual define his or own truth? I mean, you took a long time to boil it down, right? What did you do?
That wasn't my truth before. It could have been something else. It could have been bettering myself. I mean, we evolve as human beings, right?
Yeah.
It could have been my truth. Could have been probably more like building things and sharing great things with the world that make people's lives better. It could have been anything. Whatever our thing is, we all have our own thing.
I just think it's really hard to get to that thing.
I think it involves, if we sit around and watch TV, if we sit around and mindlessly consume, we won't have it. It's hard because it requires self-inquiry.
Yeah.
And self-inquiry is not easy. It requires going away from the predictable. It requires going away from the books that walk you through a process. It requires just you being with yourself and knowing who you are and what you stand for.
Yeah, it's the mental heavy lifting. And I think one, people don't necessarily know how to do it. And two, they don't even know to do it, right? And I think, that's probably some of the value in the message is kind of waking people up to like, hey, I got to spend some time thinking about this, right? I got to this guy figured it out for himself. I need to figure it out for myself. And just, having an example, I think is, hugely powerful.
I had a follow-up book to this that I self-published called Live Your Truth. And, a lot of people consider it a better book, but one of the criticisms I got was there was no step-by-step process on figuring out the truth because anyone who tells you they have that is selling you snake oil. Mm-hmm. There's no step-by-step process figuring out your truth. Yeah. All I can do is guide you to the thinking that's involved to start asking yourself the right things and to almost like change your mindset to get there. That's the best I can do. All you can do is like point at the moon. Right. You can't say I got the moon for you.